Good evening, everyone.
No, Wally, can you
Yes.
hold up? I'm not quite ready yet.
Okay,
Hold on.
sorry.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Okay,
Wally, do you know where John Hebert lives?
yes.
But short of last Sunday, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I walked my horses through the center of town because we don't want to go through the hayfield to John's house. He has maybe 4 acres that's a hayfield with a fresh pond right in the middle of it.
Oh,
And I leave the horses there until they eat everything. And tell everybody, my kids went to Woodstock. they don't want to come back.
All set when you are, Wally.
okay.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to start the meeting for the Sutton Planning Board. The date is May 24th and it is now 7 p.m. Before we get started, I want to read a document. Due to the current COVID-19 crisis pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the Planning Board is being held remotely via Zoom. To join the meeting, please visit www.zoom.us/join and enter meeting ID 842-4826-7060. The passcode is 684-445. The meeting will be broadcast and recorded on local public access station Verizon 31 and Charter Spectrum 191 and live streamed on the town's YouTube channel when available. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, no person shall address a meeting of a public body without permission of the chair. Individuals who would like to participate should state their name and address after being recognized by the chairperson. In an effort to ensure transparency to our viewers at home, the chat function is not available. Okay, so the first docket we have up here is a continuation of the Blackstone Logistics Center. And Jen, I was wondering if you could bring us up to date and see how we go forward here.
We recently received some documents from Beals and Thomas, an updated waiver request list, a response to my comments dated the beginning of May 10th, I believe it was, and several updated plan sheets. Todd may want to, or his team may want to elaborate a little bit more than that. But having read through these documents and the Graves review comments, which we can have Jeff comment on a little bit, we are likely at a spot where we can act on some waiver requests, decide which ones the board wants to act on or feels appropriate acting on, and act on some waiver requests. But I would suggest that maybe Zach or Todd or Mark kind of jump in if they would like and give us kind of a quick update, and then maybe we can touch base with Jeff and Rebecca to see if they have anything to add on civil engineering and traffic, and then we can just start a discussion on waiver requests.
Sure. Jen, this is Todd. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I can do a little bit of summarizing here and kind of dig in, if that's your pleasure.
Please do that.
Okay. Just to dial back a second, just since we last met, we have met with Douglas Planning Board in a session with them. We're meeting with Uxbridge Planning Board on Wednesday night of this week and Douglas again on Thursday night. So we're making progress in holding those meetings with each of the communities, dealing with their individual waiver requests and special issues of consideration for each of the towns. So we're hoping to do that, here with you tonight. In addition, you should be aware, and it's on your agenda, we filed an approval not required plan to essentially form the development parcel, which we've been talking about. So I think it's later on in your agenda. You'll see a 2-lot A&R plan, and this deals with exactly the parcel that we've been talking about, everything south of the 250-foot wide transmission easement with the electric company. So that's for later, but that is part of what we've also been doing in the meantime. As Jen mentioned, she issued a memo with some comments and open items. I think it was May 10th, dated May 10th. We've responded to that memorandum. Additionally, we've updated the plans to incorporate some of the comments and things that we've been talking about over the course of time. So those are in hand, and we did receive the Graves Engineering letter from May 20th. Again, Jen mentioned Jeff's on the call. I'm sure he can weigh in if needed. It leads us to the conclusion that we're pretty close to final, on any of those open items that Jeff was concerned about. And so we have submitted an updated waiver request as well. We're prepared to go through that and talk about each of those items in turn. And also any other, open items that the board may have that just you feel like they weren't ever answered, or you're not sure where they stand, that sort of thing. So, we do have a presentation we can roll through, but if the board would rather move to waivers and or open items, we're also willing to do that, prepared to do that right now.
Do any members of the board have any comments on this situation? Or what's been proposed here? Well, Jim, why don't we, I guess, just start going through the list?
Actually, can we just ask Jeff Walsh and Rebecca
Oh,
Brown
yeah.
from GPI to weigh in just really quickly with anything they might have to add it before we kind of start doing that?
All right. Rebecca, feel free to go first if you like.
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
Sorry, my microphone was not working. And now my kid is screaming in the background. Sorry. I don't know if you can hear that through the microphone. Yeah, so I think that they had actually addressed all of our comments. Hang on just one moment.
Gotta love Zoom.
Sorry about that.
Jen wants to hold the baby. She's practicing. Later in the week, it takes over.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they had actually addressed all of our comments related to the site plan. The only comments that we really had were related to the monitoring study and what exactly will be included in that. I know they haven't gone through that with this board, but we did hear them walk through that with the Douglas Planning Board. And we were okay with what they were proposing as part of the monitoring study as they walk through the conditions of that with the Douglas board. So I think we're pretty good on the traffic end with what's being proposed, with what the impacts are, what the mitigation is that's proposed in the terms of the monitoring study. I don't know if Vinod wanted to walk through that with you tonight for what they're proposing to do, but I think we're pretty good with what they had proposed.
Do any board members have any comments on the traffic aspect? Is there anything?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would think if there has been any later updates, maybe we do want to hear,
Yeah,
his brief presentation, as Todd had mentioned. So it might be worthwhile.
Sure, we can do that. Really what we explained to Douglas in detail was what the traffic monitoring program is and what it looks like and how it functions, because they were particularly concerned about an intersection. So we walked through that with them just to explain what it is.
Okay.
It's nothing different than what we've talked about. It's, taking a look at pre-occupancy, then post-occupancy, seeing if there are impacts in the traffic numbers. You know, Vinod can do a presentation if you like, or if that seems like a fair summarization, you know, we can move forward with the rest of the items.
Okay.
It's up to
Okay,
you.
Mike?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that there were really no changes to anything of the north, south, or east, or whatever for traffic. Basically, it was all the western part going through Douglas. Is that a fair summary?
So Douglas was particularly concerned about the Gilboa and North Street
Right.
intersection and how much tractor trailer traffic may go through that intersection. And, you know, what we said to them in summary is, you know, we've told you in the traffic study that there are a certain number of trailers going through there. I believe it's 8 trips a day is the estimate. And we talked about, you know, that number being what it is, and we will look at it 6 months post occupancy to see if that number is real or if it's being surpassed, and if there's a negative impact that would need to be dealt with by the applicant at that time. And that was really the pinch point intersection for them, and the one that they were most concerned about. I don't believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that Sutton has the same type of concern about one particular intersection. I know there's been, you know, a voice about the possibility of use of Central Turnpike, and we've allocated, you know, a certain number of trucks that might go on that route potentially, but nothing of a major impact. So again, if we found that that was wrong after the post-occupancy numbers came through, you know, we would start to deal with those, you know, any impacts that it had on Central Turnpike.
What we'll be looking for is that you just spell out in writing exactly what the monitoring study will involve, and that Rebecca reviews that and the board reviews that, and we make sure that's consistent and not in conflict with anything being required by Mass DOT. You know, and once we have that in writing, the board can just take a look at that and make sure they're comfortable with that. But that can also be kind of a condition of approval, but the more detail in advance of any potential action, the better.
Sure. Vinod, did I summarize that appropriately and accurately from your perspective?
Yes. The only clarification, I guess, is it's not only just 6 months after occupancy. It's the first monitoring would be 6 months after occupancy, and then annual monitoring for up to 3 years subsequent to the first 6-month monitoring. So you could have as many as 4 post-occupancy monitoring studies looking at numbers and making sure that our projections are being, you know, met or that they're valid. So that's one thing. Yeah, and the overall takeaway too is that, you know, we do now have the pre-occupancy validation stage. So not only would we come back and do these monitoring studies after the site is occupied and generating traffic, but long before we get to that stage, once a tenant is known, we would generate a memorandum that's showing, you know, what the tenant's operations are and how they compare to the assumptions we made in the study. So before you actually see the traffic on the street, you can actually, you know, see the numbers and make sure that what we analyzed in the study is consistent. So yeah, there are enough checks and balances in this monitoring program to provide you the data that you need as we go forward.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, for Jennifer's request to have that put in writing, we did spell out actually what we were recommending for the monitoring study in comment 25/26 of our most recent letter. And what they were actually proposing was consistent with that in terms of when it would start, the annual basis for up to 3 years following the occupancy, the intersections and everything that would be included in it. I think the only thing that wasn't spelled out would be what the trigger would be for if the monitoring study actually showed that there was an impact. And I think based on the discussion that we had at the Douglas Planning Board meeting, it was agreed that 25% was an appropriate number. So if the trip generation exceeded their estimates by more than 25% through an intersection, then they'd look at whether or not mitigation for it was needed.
All right, so we'll go back and look at 25, 26 and the direct response to that and just see if we think anything else needs to be added into that. Great, anything else on traffic?
Through the chair, I think it's a great plan. I just want to make sure the applicant's paying for it, not the towns. I haven't heard that. It's on the
Yeah.
applicant.
Right, we would expect to have a condition of approval that discussed, you know, what is an impact, at what point we impact a community, and then, you know, what then happens if there is an impact. And yes, you know, improvements would need to be discussed, and you know, at least the applicant would be sharing it in that expense, if not bearing the burden.
Yeah, just I think to add to that, to be sure it's crystal clear, of the applicant is responsible for paying for the post-occupancy monitoring, including a third-party reviewer such as GPI to oversee that process. No question.
Yep, good.
Thanks, Zach. Great,
Okay,
that sounds like it, Mr. Chair, on traffic, unless somebody has anything else, if you want to go to Jeff.
No, I think we should go to Jeff.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. Jeff Walsh from Graves Engineering, peer reviewer for the 3 planning boards. Yes, I also participated in the Douglas public hearing a week or 2 ago, and I'll be participating in the 3 this week. So not much for me to talk about. My letter of May 20th recognizes the design team addressed 2 comments that were still hanging out there, if you will, with respect to on-site civil engineering. The first and simplest was some regrading of the sidewalks at the front of the building that are part of the AAB accessible route, the handicap accessible route from the parking spaces into the building. That's satisfactorily been addressed. And the other issue was providing some form of groundwater recharge at the north end of the site. The initial application concentrated groundwater recharge at the south end of the site near Slacky Dam Road. And given the topography, the soil conditions and such, and some depressions out at the north end of the site, it was evident that there's groundwater recharge occurring. We also talked that the general regional groundwater flow across the site is northwest to southeast. And we felt it was important to provide some recharge up and around the north end of the site. Otherwise, it could be potentially negative impacts by lowering the groundwater table and the water at the wetlands nearby, because they seem to be hydraulically connected. The applicant proposed a subsurface infiltration system at the north end of the north parking lot. It picks up two double catch basins, provides treatment that necessary to meet Mass DEP, and recharges it into the ground. And that system is set up that if from very, very heavy flows, if that system becomes full of water and water can't pass into the ground quick enough, there's an overflow device that actually allows the excess water to continue on in the drainage system like originally designed and go down to the south end of the site. The important thing with this is that for the smaller storms, the more frequent storms, recharge is going to now occur at the north end of the site from these subsurface infiltration systems. Up at that end of the site, the groundwater is shallow. And when I say shallow, compared to Tills, it's deep, but nevertheless, it runs about 10 feet up at the north end of the site. But because of the proposed grading, and there'll be some earth cut at the south end of the north parking lot, to try to put an infiltration system farther in the south end of the parking lot, groundwater offsets and having enough vertical distance to work with becomes problematic. So what they proposed was on the east side of the parking lot in the grass area, they proposed a depression whereby runoff that's coming down that large hill that goes up to one of the towers for the electric transmission lines. That general area is going to, the runoff from that, whatever doesn't infiltrate onto the ground during a rainstorm, will run down the hill and be captured in that open infiltration basin on the east side of the site. So there is a form of groundwater infiltration being provided at the south end of the north parking lot. I felt, given the conditions they had to work with, the effort was reasonable. I looked at the storage volume compared to how much impervious area up at the north end of the site. That was in line with what DEP would be looking for. It's a little challenging whether they're going to generate it. When are they going to generate that volume of runoff? What storm event? But nevertheless, given the physical constraints of the site, I don't have any alternatives that could provide more infiltration during a small storm event. So in summary, I'm satisfied with those changes. Any other comments that we had with respect to on-site civil have been addressed. And of course, I expect the boards will have questions, comments, maybe ask for some changes. And I'm here to answer questions and provide feedback as necessary. Thank you.
Awesome. Mr. Chairman, I just have a few minor comments to just touch on and maybe ask for the board's input on before we start walking through waivers, if that's okay with you.
Okay, Jen.
Okay, so, and I will, I'm going to share my screen and pull up just the revised plans that were provided. Okay, one moment, please. All right, can you see that one okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, so on this plan set, you can see that the applicant has updated a few things. So they have added a photograph of the potential sound wall type, which is seems pretty benign here. The only two things that are missing here are just color, which frankly, this color is just fine if it has a name. And this panel detail really needs to be eliminated for confusion, because you can see this is the weird punched louvered detail, which I've shown you guys some photographs of what that looks like if it's used in a large, on all of these things, and it looks horrible. So nothing like this. So it's a minor item, but this detail needs to be shown as the solid panels that match the photograph. So that just needs to be updated.
Jen, do you take that one real quick?
Yep.
Sure. So if you look on the note number 2, that addresses, I think, both of those comments. It clarifies the colors to be tan and beige, which is the actual color code by the manufacturer.
On this?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the turf barrier is actually the smooth face. I can pull up a brochure from the manufacturer. That's their code for that.
If you can just submit that brochure, that'd be great. And then we'll just make it part of the record. And then I'll be comfortable with that if the board's comfortable with that.
I was going to say, we tried pretty hard. We've been working with the engineers over at the manufacturer about getting a better detail. And I don't think that the details they've provided so far would be more insightful than what you've got.
Yeah, I did look myself to try to help you out, but I didn't find one either that was better for detail.
Yep, we'll send that to you, Nate.
And as you can see, a note has been added here, retaining wall to have cobblestone or limestone finish. So that was the requested finish on that wall. So that's that one.
Jen, could I make one comment to the sound barrier? If
Sure.
I could. The sound consultant had made a recommendation for a minimum weight of pounds per square foot of the sound barrier material. So I believe the board will want to make sure that that has been achieved as well.
That's the 5 pounds per square foot.
I think so. Yep. I don't remember the number, but it was in that ballpark, yes. And I'm seeing this acoustical panel that's not going to be used is 8.0 pounds per cubic foot, not square foot. Nevertheless, it's just a detail that should be double checked to make sure it's the material recommended, or one of the materials recommended by the sound consultant. Thank you.
If we can, the camera consultant's on the call. He can validate right here, right now. That's helpful.
All right. Mr. Chairman, are we done with this one? If
And
so, I'll
any
go
board- Any board members have any comments on this?
If
Hearing
so-
none, then we'll move on to the next item.
Okay, so the next one is this one. All right, so what we see on this one is per my request, basically a note that grays out this northern parking and shows it as potential additional paved parking and shows how this edge would be finished. It's not clear here if this, because the landscaping still shows dark, my assumption is that landscaping is staying, even though it's kind of weird right here. So that just needs to be clear if it's intended for this landscaping to stay. And then the thing that was not addressed was my secondary comment that came via email, which was that this trailer snow removal area is in kind of an awkward position because it's in the circulation around the building. And in part because we don't have any detail what's actually happening here, that could cause a problem, obviously. Depending on the various snow removal methods you can use, which I detailed in my email to the applicant, you could end up with piles of snow impeding this passage. So the one thing I did not see addressed in what was returned was it's nice to show an area, but there needs to be a plan. Is it a guy with a rake, which is pretty inefficient? And if so, how's that going to work in the circulation area? Or is it one of the, kind of mechanical blade snow removal machines where a truck can just drive right through? And in that case, of course, again, you're dumping snow and you need to know where the snow is going and that it's not going to impede this travel way. So, and then the only other thing you see on this plan was to see if the board is comfortable with the hours on these signs, because the hours are per the sound study comments, they have used a 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. So trailer connects and disconnects are prohibited from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. So knowing if the board is comfortable with that, or if they're open to trying that and putting in a condition that if we get a bunch of issues, that those hours would get, shortened in the evening and lengthened in the morning. So those are the on this page of the plan set, those are the few things that I'm looking for applicant input on or board input on.
So I have a question. Did I read that this lot is proposed if needed? Because we're calling out for 420 spots and there's only 178. This could be added if needed, potential added, right?
Yes, so one of the waiver requests is asking you to go 428 down to 178 with this banked, basically. You'd have probably a condition if you vote that waiver, as well as a condition of approval, that the applicant has to come back to you once they know who the tenant is, or review the specific parking needs, add stuff up front if need be, and or do some monitoring like we do on other uses to see if operationally a problem arises and then the stuff needs to be added. So right now this is meant to be banked and not paved over, but that's up to you guys when you deal with the parking waiver. If you're not comfortable with that, then you would have them build out all or a portion of this, and you would designate whether that would be trailer or car or some combination thereof.
Well, I guess it makes a big difference if 2 trucks are leaving a day, they don't need all that, but if 500 are leaving an hour, then it's going to be a different story. There's actually snow storage all along both sides of that lot.
Great.
Okay.
So Todd, does any more board comments, Mr. Chairman, or do you want to pop it to the Scannell team to kind of?
This is Mike Gagan. If I could just have a quick comment. I would just kind of follow up what Jen said about the snow removal piece, and just wondering if there's been any thought of the removal area not being that close to the building, in that turnaround? Is there any other way, anywhere else away? It does seem like if there was many trucks leaving after the storm, I mean, it'd be a lot of snow removal to be moved from that area over to the snow storage area, hindering the pattern, as Jen suggested.
Okay, so why don't we, as the development team, try to answer those questions? So
Okay.
perhaps we can start with that landscaping question that Jen raised about those portions of landscaping that still show on this plan.
Go right ahead.
Where are those going?
This is Dan Feeney from Bales and Thomas. If the northern parking area was not to be built, the landscaping would be eliminated. It would not be included until that parking lot would be built.
All right, so there would be no landscaping along this edge.
Correct.
All right, so just gray those out. And is the board okay with just these ones? These ones would still be here, right?
Right.
But these ones would be eliminated. Is the board okay with that?
So in the area where the proposed additional parking is, if it's not utilized and paved, what would it be? Just a open field or just?
No.
And if
What
it
is
is, right,
What's there now?
Right now, it's an open area.
Okay.
You know, there's no significant vegetation out there. It's part of the former gravel operations area out here. So, you know, it would, you know, a piece of it might be used as part of the construction staging. You know, there's always the potential that something might be needed in the future. So, you know, I think it would just be left in near its current state, you know, for the potential for future development if needed to support, you know, the building uses out here.
Did you just lay in this bituminous concrete berm, no landscaping along this edge, and this would just stay kind of however it's left. If you use it for construction staging, you'll need to kind of clean that up, obviously, but other than that, you just leave it kind of however it is now.
yeah, I mean, my initial thought on that is that you probably would not need that additional landscaping where you're circling there, Jen. I mean, if it's not going to be, you know, if it's left as it is pretty much.
And that landscaping is in and around that open infiltration basin I spoke of earlier.
There's a basin
No,
here.
right up against the landscaping. Right,
Oh, here?
yeah, it's down in that general area, Jen. Yeah,
So the basin stays, Dan Feeney?
The basin would stay, would promote infiltration there. It's not a large basin. It's a very small basin there.
So Jeff, do you see a need for the plantings in terms of safety or functionality or just
aesthetics
aesthetics? Okay.
at the back of the building.
So if there's a basin in this area and these aren't planted, this would all just be graded and loamed and seeded with whatever the basin calls for?
That's right. There's a pretty steep hill on the right side of those plantings going up to the tower. Yeah. And the hill goes up in that direction to the right of the page.
Okay. So at least this area would be kind of loamed and seeded and need to be maintained.
Yeah. My recommendation, if they use some or all of the north parking area for staging during construction, that's fine, but it should be permanently stabilized with some vegetative cover after. And if they leave areas where they don't even go onto the farther north, it's growing in, it's taking time. I'd call it thin vegetation now, but it's a mix of grasses and brush generally, and a few saplings are coming up. You know, if there's a way to augment the vegetative cover, that would be nice. You know, I don't expect a lawn or anything, but beyond what would be stabilized with vegetative cover for disturbed areas, it would be nice to try to augment some of that growth that is coming in and has been over the years.
I'm writing that on the list of potential conditions for approval. All right, so how does the board feel about these hours where you can't connect or disconnect trucks? 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, through the chair, I feel like those hours, at least to start with the condition that if we get a bunch of complaints or any issues popping up, that we can change those or come to an agreement further down the line, would be great.
Do those hours correspond or with the applicant? Are they happy with that?
Well, we don't know the specific user.
Correct.
I guess if you ask happy, I think we'd prefer to have no restriction on our movements, but it's reflective of the recommendations we got from the sound consultant. So that's where we pulled it from.
All right.
No, that's fine.
And is that because there's backup beepers on all these trucks when they're backing up?
Well, and that connect disconnect makes a loud noise.
Yeah,
Makes a, you know.
the air hoses.
Mhm. So yeah, that was part of the Kavanaugh-Tachi recommendations, I think.
Yes.
The banging of the steel when they're
Coupling and
in the back, when they're coupling up, and if they pull away from the trailer and they don't have the landing gear on the trailer all the way down and it drops to the ground, it's going to make some noise as well.
All right. So anybody want to comment on the trails, what we're really doing for snow removal off the trucks? On the applicant's team?
Want to take that, Dan? That'd be great.
Thanks. You know, because there's no tenant, you know, we don't want to box them in necessarily. We picked the location where it's shown here because it's on the outbound exit for trucks coming, you know, back around the building to exit. So it's on the exit side of it. You know, if it was a mechanical blade that was removing the snow, it would, you know, compromise some of the width of that access drive, but that is a 45-foot. You can see the 45-foot dimension just to the left of the trailer snow removal area over there. You know, that's a fairly wide access driveway there. So if we're taking up 15 feet for the mechanical snow removal, it's still leaving a 30-foot wide access through there, which is you know, a more typical two-way truck traffic access. So there is some room in there to do it. You know, and you know, based on the layout of the site, it seems like you know, an appropriate place to have the snow removal.
Bob Rogers, through the chair, if I understood where the traffic was going to be moving in and out of the property, I thought putting it right there is take care of itself. Obviously, if there's snow, it has to come off the top of the tractors, and there'll have to be a piece of equipment there that's going to have to get it out of there. If there's otherwise, they're going to clog up their whole system there. So someone is going to be in charge of a backhoe that's going to keep that so the snow gets out of there so the property can actually work.
Yeah, it'll be an operations issue,
Right.
you know, for the tenant out there to make
Yep.
sure
Yeah,
they can
if
move it.
deal with it, nothing's going to happen. There'll be no hooking up to anything because everything's going to stop. That's why it's a great spot. They have to deal with it. They can't ignore
And
it.
the you know, what we're anticipating too is these mechanical blade ones, they there's options where they can come out on wheels. So, you know, they're
Yeah.
not out there year round and they can wheel them out and then
Right.
the supports come down, the wheels come up. So they are flexible with where they can be located on the pavement.
Right.
It's not, you know, casting concrete into the ground any one location. So.
So it sounds like you're most comfortable with some kind of condition. Yes? No?
I guess we're not sure we really understand what you mean by
Right.
that. We've got a trailer snow removal area. You know, we're talking about having in all likelihood an operational question more than anything. We have the area, we'll provide for that. And, you know, a condition would say what exactly?
Condition would say that operation, the area needs to be kind of designated, like on the site, the operator, whoever's actually occupying the site has to tell us exactly how that's going to happen before they start operations, because we're not going to wing it on the first snowstorm.
So it'd be helpful if we put signage and or paint in this area. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're pretty confident that 45 feet is going to allow you whatever they decide to do, you know, scrape it off, dump it, like Bob said, grab a backhoe, scoot it across, dump it over into the snow storage area. If you're pretty comfortable that that's going to allow you enough area, then I guess that works.
It's the new tenants issue, not ours as a planning board.
Yeah.
Well, we need a condition to make sure before they start operation, that's been dealt with or that's been planned for. So.
Yeah.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, I'm Mark Donahue. We'll
Yes.
be glad to draft a condition that will refer to the location as shown on the plan, and that will provide details of the manner of operation and how the tenant will be using it once the tenant's identified. We'll draft the language for you to take a look at as a condition of approval.
Perfect.
Okay.
Good.
You happy with that, Jen?
I'm happy with that, but
Okay.
I'm not making the decisions, but.
Well, could we make it a condition of occupancy or something? I don't know.
Yeah, well, let's see what language, Attorney Donahue drafts. All right, so no landscaping here. We'll go with these hours for now and have a condition if there's issues that are revisited. And then Attorney Donahue will draft a condition relative to snow removal. Is that where we are on these few things on this sheet?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, let's go to the next sheet. I believe this is the open space plan. I just wanted confirmation, Dan Feeney, that
Yes.
it's kind of hard to see the outline of lot 1 here, but it looks here to the Route 146 line here.
Yep.
And then kind of down along here.
Yes.
So of the portion that's in Sutton, which is right here, you're saying that there's like 1 million plus square feet, I think, in Sutton. And that these gray areas, they're not in easements and they're not being developed in any way. And that those areas equal roughly, let me just scroll over there. Right here, 473,000 and change is what is shown in those gray areas, which is almost exactly 35%. Is that, I just want to verify that.
That is correct. Yep. The gray areas are outside of the easements. You can see, where the Tennessee gas easement is in between the grade area and the grade out northern parking. And then the other area, we're right up to the 250-foot national grid easement. And then just to get up to the 35%, there's a little bit, north of where that larger snow storage area would be.
All right. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. And then this plan would potentially just be attached as a back sheet of any special permits. And that would be the means by which that would be restricted if the board's okay with that. So it'd be referenced and recorded along with the special permit.
Yeah.
Good with that?
Okay.
All right, this sheet is, hello. This is drawing kind of slow. All right, so this one, again, it's just the hours of operation signs. You can see those will be all the way down this edge. I think that was the only thing on there. I kept this sheet in there in case the board wanted to look at this in terms of repositioning the snow removal. But if we have a condition, I guess we don't need to reposition that for the time being.
No.
Okay, this sheet. All right, so what we have on this sheet is a few things, minor things. So the applicant has added a sign location right here, and based on the position of the signage relative to the edge of trees, it would appear that, and the stop line, it would appear that that's not going to be an issue with sight distance because it's behind the stop line and behind the tree line. And then there is a tractor trailer right turn only sign right here. So though I had preferred an island that forces you to turn right, the applicant wasn't really comfortable with that because it's hard to be able to let employees turn left. So you'd be making everybody turn right, and it might inhibit this swing as well with the trucks turning in to the left. So is the board comfortable with that sign location? And is there anything other than this right turn only sign you wanted? And did you think that should be a minimum size?
Mike, do you have any comments on this?
No, not really, no. I mean, like you said, Jen, I trust when your judgment on the sign location is sufficient. I think the issue there of coming out with a dedicated right-hand turn, I mean, to me, I think defer a little bit to, the folks in Uxbridge where the land actually is, that entrance. I mean, I think, they're the ones immediately impacted by that. So I think, my opinion on that would be to defer a little bit to, that town who's being impacted by that the most.
Bob?
I'm fine.
Okay, Scott?
I would think the sign would have to be high enough off the ground so that a truck driver can see it as opposed to down where a car can see it.
Mm-hmm.
This is only for trucks, right? No right-hand turns for trucks only?
That's up to you. And as Mike said, maybe even more so up to Uxbridge, but it's up to the permitting boards, whether you want it to be right turn only for everyone or just for trucks.
Well, much like the Bank of America, which has a triangle to try to force you to make a right hand only. There's plenty of people making lefts, and I think that people that work here and coming out in their cars should be able to go left, but a truck, a tractor trailer should be encouraged very strongly to get on the highway.
Okay.
I concur with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Keep the trucks from going east and basically getting on 146.
Well, maybe Uxbridge's police department can buoy their income stream.
I agree with that too, and I'm sure there's some standards for sign size.
Probably. All right. And then last but not least, on the signs. So this is the emergency access, So the applicant has added gating on both ends because the fire department was adamant that this be gated on both ends so that there's no risk that you're gonna have vehicles coming at them when they're trying to come in or anybody parking along here for emergency access. A specific gate is not called out, but I'm thinking a condition that it has to be, you know, as required by the applicable fire departments would be fine. This plan does show the water connection coming from Whitensville Water District, just calling that out. My one question on here was maintenance of these basins. How will maintenance be achieved on these basins? I mean, you kind of go in and then you kind of have a little berm here. But they're not small basins. So Dan, did you have any detail or comments on how these ones would be maintained over time?
Yeah, so as part of the stormwater management report, there was a operation and maintenance plan submitted that specifies, you know, the frequency of observations that are needed on the basins, as well as, you know, catch basins and water quality structures and the other stormwater components on the site. In terms of the access, you know, infiltration basin 1, as you get a little further up the page, right where the 335 contour is up there, you know, it's pretty flat shot in to the berm of the basin there. And then you can go around the basin. So yeah, if you come in, you know, anywhere, now a little bit down from there, that down at right where that 337 contour is right there, that loops over towards the basin. You know, that's bringing you, that's about the top of the basin berm elevation, and the top of the basin berm is 338. And, you know, you can see the double 338 contours there. So that's a flat, 10-foot wide flat section where you can drive around the basin for access around the basin. You know, the most important area to get to is sort of the outlet control structure, but certainly if there's any erosion at any of the flared ends coming into the basin, or there's any issues there, you know, you can, you know, drive, you know, you can get a backhoe truck, whatever, around the basin. And infiltration basin 2 is sort of similar. You know, it's the grade of that basin, the grade of the top of that berm isn't that different from the entry drive. So, and it's right off of the entry drive, so you can get around that basin as well, and into the bottom of the basin for any maintenance that you need to do.
Okay. Yeah, they are significant basins, so I wanted to be sure we had it on the record and like you said, in the plan, that there's a way to get in there that's reasonable. All right. All right, so I'm going to stop share. I'm just going through my, oh, whoops, sorry. You thought I was done torturing you. Just 1 minute. No, it's not here. It is not here. I was going to pull up the architectural plan, but you guys have seen that. So there's been some great little windows added to that. The colors have been called out, which is awesome. But I just wanted to review just a few things with the board and make sure you're okay with those, and or see if you wanted to defer those to somebody else or whatever. So the detail sheets on the architectural plans now clearly show the vertical lines on the building, those breaks between the panels, the concrete wall panels are about 3.5 inches wide. They're about 3/4 of an inch deep. So they're pretty tiny little divots. But I don't know that they're any different really on the Prime Metals building. We're hoping that you'll basically see that scoring. The interesting thing though is on the building plan. So you've got a building that's 1,166 feet long, pretty long building. And then it is 554 feet wide. And the proposed bump outs, those 3 bump outs on the front, are 10 inches deep. So they're pretty minimal. So if the board's happy with that, I'm just going to shut up. But 10 inches on a building that's 1,166 feet long and 554 feet wide, it's pretty imperceptible. But you guys can just weigh in, and if you say enough, Jen, or leave it to Uxbridge.
So what's the intent of those? To break up the wall?
Yeah, really to just kind of, I am going to find that. One moment,
Give
please.
visual break.
Yeah, it's really, you know how on Prime Metals, Skinnell pulled out the office portion, and really bumped out that office portion, introduced the glass, really created a break along that most visible face of the structure, really downplayed the massing of that side of the structure. So we're kind of looking for the same kind of effect here. This is, it's 554 feet long length here. So the Skinnell building, I believe, was, I can't even remember. It was 300 plus. This is much bigger, or it's not much bigger, but it's bigger than that length that you saw the office along on Prime Metals. So we're really not making the team do anything on those side doors, although the introduction of the little windows was really cool. I actually want to, I'm just poking around to see if I can find that one. I don't know why I don't have it on my screen, but let me just try to find that. But you tell me what Dan, you sent me those, right? The architecturals?
I did, yes.
Yeah, so let me just grab them. I'm sure they're right here somewhere. I don't know why I didn't save them to my screen. Whoops. All right. My computer hates me all of a sudden.
Ian, is this something you could possibly pull up if Jen can't find it? Is it something you might have handy?
I got it.
Oh, Jen got it.
I'm just save as desktop, save, and then let me grab the other one. Save as desktop, save. Okay. I'm a little clunky sometimes, but I got it. All right. So let me go to share screen. Oops. No, stop that. Sorry. All right, there we go. All right, guys. All right, can you see it?
Yes.
All right, so you can see they've added these great little windows. On this building, they're actually bigger than you would think, but they've added those nice little windows down either side, pull a little light into the building. The back end, they actually have the raised on the back end. I don't know why you need that on the back end, but that's fine. If you want to save some money and not put those on the back end and make them a few feet deeper on the front end, that might be good. So this is the office doors. You've got a little 5x12 canopy over the front. And these are the little bump outs. So these three columns here are scored, not really a different material. They're just scored differently. And they stick out 10 inches. And like I said, when you look at, let me show you the other one. Can you see that one? When you look at this one, see, this is the detail. Those bump out 10 inches deep on this giant building. These are the little bump outs. So this is 1,166 feet long, and these bump out 10 inches.
There's 3 of them.
There's 3 of them.
Jen, can I just ask though, if you were looking straight on, would it be more important to see the depth of the bump out versus, you know, the scoring of it, which would visibly look different than the rest of the building?
I think the scoring certainly helps. You know, if it was a different material, like a wood tone or a stone tone, you know, it would look even more pronounced, and maybe you don't need as much depth, but it's the same color, and the only difference is kind of a difference in scoring. So, you know, that it helps if those kind of pop out more. So it's kind of a combination of the things. But again, this does sit in Uxbridge, this elevation. So, I mean, you can just, if you don't feel strongly about it, you can just leave it to Uxbridge. And if anybody says, that wasn't all that creative, then you can just say, well, it's in Uxbridge. And there is going to be a bunch of landscaping, obviously, between the front of this building and the road. But as you know, as we've done with every one of our industrial buildings, even if you don't see it, we try to make, unless you're into the site, we try to still make it kind of speak of the quality and of the building, of the company and the community. So again, I'm not going to be hurt if you guys disagree with me. I'm just calling out the facts, and I am happy that those windows were added along the sides. I do think that makes a difference even on those very long plain sides. I think that does make a difference.
But these elevations are showing different colors or shades.
Yep.
Of cementitious or EPIS type material, right? So
yep.
Visually they look different. But what do you think would be a good relief, like 24 inches or 10 feet or?
Well, on a building this big, the deeper the better. But I mean, yeah, you would at least give it, you know, 2 feet, 3 feet at least, or you just, you know, there's a lot you can do with this kind of precast concrete panel. You know, maybe there's something different you can do to make this look, you know, more stone-like. So that I just don't know. This is the one thing I didn't look into. I usually do go right to the companies and look at their stuff and see what's out there to try to be helpful instead of just whiny in terms of plans, in terms of architecture, but I haven't been able to do that. So completely up to you guys. If you think more relief should be added, then we can put the applicant back on the task of adding more depth, and or if you think something should be done that's more of a variation in those 3 columns. I mean, I don't know why you need them on the back, other than that's a very engineering kind of thing to see that complete, you know, on the back of the building, how you see the 3 same. It's nice, but not necessary. I would think on that north elevation. If it costs any more money, I would lose those. But
yeah, put the money in the front. No one's going to see the
Yeah.
back.
Right, I'd be willing to support the increased relief, not just to support Jen, but it's been consistent with all the other buildings.
all right, Mr. Chairman, if you just want to run through the board so we can move past this one.
Okay, Mike, Kyle, do you have any comments on this?
Personally, I don't know if it's really needed. This is a giant building. There's only so much you can do that's really gonna break it up, and I think they've done a good job with different colors, adding windows. I mean, if the board feels strongly about it, I'll support them on that, but personally to me, it doesn't make a difference either way.
Bob?
I would feel stronger if the whole building was in Sutton. But this is, we have two other partners, and if our partners are fine with this, then I want to be part of a team. And there'll be other places I'd want things to stand out in Sutton, but I wouldn't draw a line in the sand here over that stuff. I'm happy as it stands.
Scott?
I would agree with that, and we have other potential challenges facing us moving forward in Sutton. I probably will never drive by this building except to take a look at it, so. And I think it'll be blocked by trees from what I can see, as I have driven by here, and it looks like it'll be nicely blanketed by trees and set back pretty far from the road, so 10 inches, 2 feet, I'm not sure I'll be able to differentiate that.
Mike?
Yeah, I would really just concur with Bob and Scott as well. I don't think it's the biggest issue that we need to look at, and given that it really is in the other town's piece of the building. That, and again, I think if you're looking at what she said, was it how far it was out, but bumping it slightly more, I don't think it's going to make a dramatic difference. So I don't really have an issue with it.
You know, having been at the town meeting a couple of weeks ago, there's always the discussion of, oh, these are big and we're going to see it and all that kind of stuff. So to me, the money being spent on large visual foliage or you know, plantings and trees to separate and block views of the buildings makes them more palatable. Makes people stop saying I can only see it all day long, and geez, those trees are nice. So I think the money's better off hiding it rather than making a lot of relief issues too.
I would agree with the general consensus of the board. We are in a partnership agreement. You know, if it's possible to say do less with the north end and more with the south end without an increasing cost, you know, maybe that might be a possibility, but you know, whatever.
So see proof that the board are not my puppets. We're gonna think I did that on purpose. Okay. So open space we dealt with, truck cleaning we dealt with, sound wall we dealt with, times we dealt with, the bump out, and then the earth removal. You have a note for earth removal on one of the sheets. I did forget to pick that up. I would just, the note says, based on geotechnical recommendations, earth material will be spread in undeveloped areas or removed from the site. So it's my understanding you may be considering withdrawing the earth removal application. And if so, I would just either adjust that comment, or we'll just make sure we put a condition per our bylaw that anything over 300 cubic yards either needs an exemption application or an earth removal permit.
I thought I saw some calculation in Jeff Walsh's comments about this, and it's a lot more than that. But he thought that the plan could go forward without the need for a permit. Is that right, Jeff? Am I putting words in your mouth?
I apologize, Scott. I don't recall that. Let me take a look. What I'm worried about is if they're going to redistribute the soil on the site. I mean, we're talking quite a few thousands or tens of thousands of yards, if I remember right. And I'd be concerned with what the topography is going to look like. So the point is, if they're going to leave it on site, it'd be good to know where it's going to go. You don't get the exact elevations until the job is executed, but there can be reasonable estimates made of the volume. So
So this lists a bulk cut of 240,000 cubic yards and a bulk fill of 190,000 cubic yards. So a difference of 50,000 cubic yards. Well, it's cut and fill. Okay. So, so you'd be spreading 50,000 cubic yards somewhere on the site.
yeah, it's kind of hard to blend that amount of fill in and not notice it. What number are you looking at, Jen?
I'm looking at the revised sheet 1.3 that was submitted.
Oh, okay. On the plans. Okay. I apologize. I don't have the plans with me. I ended up staying home today, and I got what I could off the internet to speak tonight, but I didn't bring any plans with me.
Dan Feeney, did you want to comment on that at all?
Sure. So when we had initially done some of the earthwork calcs, we didn't have a lot of geotech information. We now have a full geotech report. They went out there and did a number of borings as well as test pits. When we do our earthwork calculations, it's based on getting the subgrade. And so we had assumed that more material was going to be unsuitable. And so therefore would need to be removed and excavated within the developed areas, both building and pavement. So it overestimated the amount of total bulk earthwork cut. Based on the geotechnical report, there is fill materials out here that is not suitable under building. So that will need to come out, but it can be used if compacted properly and in the right conditions within pavement areas. So that helps to balance the site. The development footprint is also sufficiently large that, again, as a site work contractor is brought on, there's the ability to adjust grades throughout the site or every minor amount. If over the entire development area, if you look at a 1 foot up or down, you're talking 50,000 cubic yards, right? So if you came up 3 inches or 6 inches, you'd be losing material in a large quantity. So based on that, we feel like we have the means and ability to be able to achieve a balanced site, without spreading earth materials in areas like the open spaced areas or other areas where we wouldn't be going into, outside of the developed areas. So
the numbers, you're still sticking with the numbers that are on this sheet. You just feel like you can kind of treat.
The bulk numbers would change a little bit because we wouldn't be needing to excavate some of the material that we thought we needed to excavate to.
All right, so you need to update that note then?
Yeah, I think it would be fair to say that if we update that note, it would clear things up a little bit.
Great.
So Jen, this is Todd. To your point, yes, we envision withdrawing the earth removal permit as filed. And, again, we understand the fact that if it's necessary, we need permission to do so in accordance with your bylaws. So I don't know that we need a condition that says that, but if you feel necessary to put it in there, then that's okay.
On that one. All right. The only other thing of mention here is, of course, as of the Saturday Springtown meeting, the town voted to allow special permits for height up to 70 feet in the office light industrial district. The building commissioner was pretty firm that he considered the height on this building to be as much as 49 feet. I have a call into council to just advise the board on the process for this applicant to apply for a special permit for that additional 4 feet that they need. So stay tuned on that one. All right.
Yeah, so Jen, this is Todd. So just on that, we understand there would be a special permit required to exceed the 45 feet in height in this particular zoning district. And we also understand that the bylaw amendment now needs to go to the Attorney General's office for comment and to be deemed entirely effective, but it is effective as of the date that the town voted. So we would love to be filing for that special permit in the next week or two and be coming before you within that 90-day window. And if you felt like you needed to hold the decision until after that period of time, that might be okay. But I think that was kind of where we thought we might, you might need some clarification from council just to make sure it was appropriate and effective. But we'd like to be, in front of you talking about that in the near future. But we would also love and would appreciate understanding from the board, in a sort of a poll fashion, if there seemed to be any issue with the 49 feet in height. And that it's obviously not, we're not here to discuss that as seeking a permit at the moment, but it's the height of the building that's been suggested all along. It's just that the interpretation we had hoped for was that the loading dock areas where it dips 4 feet, instead of being considered 49 feet, that would be considered sort of an abnormality and still be considered 45 feet. The building inspector didn't agree with that, and that's fine. That's his prerogative. So that's why we need the relief.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to do kind of a little poll to see if the members feel like they would have any issue with the 49 feet as interpreted by the building commissioner?
No problem. Scott,
I see no difference between 45 and 49 feet.
Kyle,
Same.
Mike,
Yeah, I would agree as well. I mean, especially that the town has already kind of gone through the vote, even though it's going to take a little time to officially go. But, the will of the town through that vote was to go up higher. So to go over 4 feet and worry at this point, I don't think, if it had not passed up, it might be more of an issue of 45 to 49. But given what's happening and, the people have spoken at the town meeting, I don't think it's an issue.
Bill,
Oh, I agree, and thanks for explaining the mysterious extra 4 feet where it came from.
Bob.
I'm on board.
Okay. The chair agrees with the comments you heard from the rest of the board. We can go
Okay.
forward on that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, are you ready to run down the waiver list?
Yes. So Jen, I don't know if you want to share Dan Feeney's letter or if you want us to do so.
No, I can
Just
do
to
that.
remember those.
I can do that, and I think it can run pretty quickly, but let's see.
Yeah, and do you want to run through those or do you want us to do so?
I can run through 'em. Try to get them done pretty quick.
Which,
So we're going to the waiver list. Everybody see that? All right, so the board can do a number of things here. You can decide that it's not your waiver because it's not in your town, or you can just vote it just because, just so you have your opinion, if nothing else. Or you may find that you think something's not applicable. I think we've got a pretty solid list right now. And then if Dan or Todd could jump in if I'm missing something. So this first one, 4B1, you can see the northern parking area that right this minute would not be constructed, but would be if need be. That northeast corner was in the setback. So as you recall, it abutted pretty much just the rest of the open land there, not really a direct usable abutter. So how does the board feel about allowing the parking and maneuvering in the setback in that northeast portion of what may or may not become employee or truck parking, depending on the applicant? And what we're looking for on these is, that's not our waiver, this one is, or motion to grant the waiver, and why, or motion to grant the waiver and why with conditions.
Through chair,
Go ahead, Kyle.
I'll make a motion that we grant the waiver for the parking, the potential parking, correct, in the setback, the property line.
I'll second that, but I have a question to clarify. So it says approximately 11.4 feet from the property line at its closest point. So on average, what is that number? And for how long along this line approximately?
Dan, did any of the new sheets show that?
You'll see it grayed out, I guess, in sheet 3.1, which was the one that had, you know, the remote area grayed back. It's hard to get an average. There's a point. Yeah, you can see the point right there.
Right,
That's where it's 11.4 feet off. You know, and I did note that little triangular piece there that it is abutting it's part of the national, well, it's the overhead power lines for National Grid. That section of it is actually owned in fee by National Grid. So that is who the abutter is. They don't have just an easement through there. They own that little triangular piece, interestingly enough. Everywhere else along this corridor, it's an easement they have. But so, you know, it basically, as this was laid out as a tractor trailer remote parking area, it was to allow the access for the vehicles to turn and come around and get back out of that area.
And that right of way over the power line is that right of way or easement is 250 feet wide.
It is a 250-foot easement. Yep.
No, I'm good.
Okay, Bill?
That's fine.
Okay, Mike?
No comments at this point. It seems-
Well, are we doing the vote? Is that what you're doing, Mr. Chairman? Or are you just doing?
Yeah. I'm doing a vote, aren't we?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we have a motion and a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt your process, but just a Robert's rule type of situation. I don't know if Kyle was in full attendance at the meetings for the joint meetings and whether the Mullen rule, if you've adopted that or so.
You're
sorry to
right.
interject.
Good catch. So that motion should be from a member who's eligible to vote on this particular hearing.
So I guess that means, Bill, you're stepping up to the plate
Yeah.
today. I'm free.
Sorry, Kyle.
No problem. Rather be done the right way.
Right, so we're withdrawing that second and that motion. So who wants to make the motion to grant this, if anyone?
I'll make a motion that we grant the waiver for B1 relative to the parking setback of the potential or what's been laid out parking area as written.
I
Do we have
second
a
that.
second?
Bill
Bill
Talcott?
Talcott, second.
Okay. Any comments?
No,
Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Mike,
aye.
Scott, Paul,
Aye.
Bill Talcott,
Aye.
Bob Larges.
Aye.
Vote passes 5-0 and one, I guess, abstention.
Yep, Kyle would
Yeah,
be.
I'm
abstaining.
acting as associate member right now, so my vote wouldn't count anyway.
Okay, all right, so the next one is this is the overall parking thing. So according to our regs, they need 428 parking spaces. They've got 178 employee spaces. The rest of the spaces you see on the site, per comments by both Jeff and myself, are really just tractor and or trailer parking spaces. So you need to decide if you're going to waive down to the 178, if you're going to waive down to the 178 and count any of those trailer parking spaces, in which case we'd add stuff on. And no matter what you're going to do, if you're going to kind of condition here in the waiver vote and or later in an action vote, what happens in terms of what you want to happen when you have an actual tenant lined up.
So
And
So I'll make the motion, but I'd like to get some clarification. So I'll make a motion to get this started. I make a motion that we grant the waiver for 4B3, table 4 for off-street parking standards and the requirements for the number of spaces as written.
I second that, Bill Talcott.
So my
Okay.
question is, the 178 parking spaces are shown for cars.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
The trailers are shown as all around the building because we anticipate this is a place for trucks. If there's more trucks needed, then that ancillary lot to the north
Mhm.
is available for construction. Is that my understanding?
For trucks or cars.
Or cars?
Yeah, so I think the argument, and Jeff can jump in if he's still here, but I think that the reasoning Jeff and I gave was that when we look at parking standards, it's usually kind of the employees, not so much what you saw on these edges, which was more kind of operational spaces in nature. That we were more thinking that the parking standards are for the employees. So it's not likely that Joe would pull in his pickup truck, park it in a tractor trailer space, and then take his tractor trailer and leave. He's gonna park his pickup truck somewhere else and then take his tractor trailer truck and leave. So these are kind of operational spaces. They're really not part of what we typically do for parking calculations. So now the board as a whole or a majority can feel differently and say, hey, there's 178 parking spaces and there's X tractor, it's not on here anymore, but there's X tractor trailer spaces. So we either meet the requirement or we'll allow a waiver considering these, as long as when the tenant actually comes in, they have to come in, tell us about their operation and their parking needs, and we'll add more if need be back here, tractor trailer or employee spaces.
Yeah, if I could, Mr. Chairman, I would just kind of follow up what Jen just said, that I think when an actual tenant is identified and going through the process, there might be a need to revisit it to be sure that what's laid out is still appropriate. I mean, given that we're still at a guessing what the composition of the vehicles will be, when it's actually happening, we might have to put a condition to revisit it.
Right, because if all those spaces to the north are built, how many tractor trailer spaces are there now available on this lot?
Be 250.
250? Okay. All built out, all total.
Yes, throughout the whole site, 250.
So if every truck needs a driver and there's, I don't know how many people are gonna work in a 30,000 square foot office, but if every truck and 50 people need a parking space, then there's a big problem, right?
The truck drivers, would likely be coming from someplace else to bring a delivery to the site, and then you're leaving the site with another delivery. The employee parking is mainly for the people who work in the warehouse building.
Okay.
So if I understand that correctly, that area is going to be primarily for trailers and not necessarily tractors?
Tractor trailers, the big box
Yep.
on the back of a truck.
I know, but they're not gonna have are they gonna have a tractor and a trailer both sitting there in the 100 of them?
I think our traffic numbers are pretty explicit that we have more tractor or trailer spaces than we do truck trips a day.
Okay,
So the intent is that there would be either trailers will be stored more than one day, and or there'll be multiple trailers there for a single tractor. So if you think about a normal movement, tractor will pull onto the site, drop its trailer, pick up another one. So that's at least two spaces right there, assuming every tractor is picking up and pulling out a trailer, or every trailer is getting moved every day, which is often not the case.
So in the worst case scenario, the tenant that comes in here needs 927 spaces. That's not gonna work, right? That tenant can't get considered because there's no space for them.
Right.
Is
Yeah,
that,
I mean, they'd have to come in with a revised site plan and say how it works, or they can't go here, right?
right, okay.
So I mean, initially, you're gonna have all of these spaces, which it looks like that says 75, and all of these spaces, which looks like 60 or an 80, those will be constructed. And then the 178 employee spaces. So those all do get constructed, all of these and all of these get constructed, and then all of these.
Don't forget, you've got everything along the building as well. So you've got a
Right.
bunch of active,
Like-
non-active blocks, correct? So that can be used as trailer spaces as well.
Right.
yeah,
So if you're good with it, so you grant the waiver to allow, I think as you stated it, a waiver from 4B3 for the parking as shown on these plans, 178 plus what's there for tractor trailer, and then we would revisit it with the tenant, have the tenant come back in and talk about their actual operations and parking needs, and then they'd be required to construct additional spaces here for employees and or tractor trailers if necessary, based on that revisiting.
So I'd like to amend my motion to include what you just said. Did you write that down?
I have it says revisit with tenant. So I'll spitball it.
All right.
And Bill, are you okay as the second on that with just?
Yeah, I'm okay with a second. And how many spots are in the ancillary parking in cars and trailers?
Dan, what were the two things? How many cars and how many trailers back here?
The trailer one is 116 trailers. And the car one, I don't have a total on it, totaled up on the plans, but it looks like it was,
Which one's the trailers, which one's the cars?
well, we have two alternatives. So the plan that you see there right now is all trailers.
All
And then
trailers,
there's an
okay.
alternative one where if it was a heavy employee population in the building and less of a tractor trailer operation, we didn't need the tractor trailers. It would be all employee cars up there.
I can help Dan out with that. My notes here say that there would be 500 passenger vehicle parking spaces in the north lot if it were constructed as passenger vehicles spaces, plus the 178 at the front for a total of 678.
So 500 cars, Jeff, is that what you said?
That's what I've got in my letter, yes.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So 500 cars equates to 116 tractor trailers.
Up here. Yep.
That sounds about right.
The way I see it is the parking for the trucks is not addressed in the zoning bylaw. It's parking for passenger vehicles, people to come to work, people to come and do business for whatever reason. I look at trailer truck spaces as the same as inventory spaces on a vehicle, car sales lot, or how many square feet of area for retail lumber or wholesale lumber in the lumber yard. Be careful not to mix number of truck parking spaces with number of passenger vehicle parking spaces when it comes to talking about the bylaw. As I see it, the bylaws in the 3 towns called for, I'm sorry, I don't have the number as a whole,
Right
but
here.
it's 400 and something spaces.
Yeah, it's
But
right
the
here.
Thank you. Yeah. But the applicant's team came through and said, look, in today's market, we anticipate we'll have a demand of about 170 whatever, and we're proposing 178. So
Mhm.
yeah, I can appreciate that, over time, the bylaw had probably contemplated facilities that don't have as much automation as they do now. So I can appreciate maybe the demand for parking goes down because the demand for employees goes down. But nevertheless, the bylaw is the bylaw. In summary, I think they've made a plan showing, okay, on the east and west sides, we've got this many trailer spots. In the front, we've got this many passenger vehicle spots. And then in the back, we've allocated land that can be used for trucks or passenger vehicles, depending upon the actual tenant's needs. And that's where we're at. I've seen, it's basically reserved parking. It may not even get built, or it may get built one way or the other. I wouldn't even be surprised if part of it gets built. But nevertheless, that gets nailed down, I would think more so when an actual tenant is chosen, because unlike many other projects where the tenant's known, that's not the case here. So, hope that helps everybody.
Yeah, it does.
Yes. it does,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
All right, so you ready for a vote on that one?
Sure. The chair votes aye. Bob,
Aye.
Bill Talcott,
Aye.
Mike Gagan,
Aye.
Scott Paul.
Aye.
Okay, the vote's 5-0, and I guess Kyle will abstain. Okay,
All right, let's go back to waivers. Next is, this one's easy. Our bylaw maxes out driveway width at 30 feet. They need 45 for obvious reasons. So who wants to give me that super easy motion?
I'll make a motion, we grant this waiver for 4B, 4E, relative width of driveways as written.
we have a second.
Mike
I
Egan,
second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any comments on this from the board?
No.
Okay, yeah. I guess I should ask for comments from the general public. Forgot about that. Hearing none, chair votes aye. Mike,
Mike Egan, aye.
Bob,
Aye. Bob Largus.
Bill,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Okay, vote is 5-0, and Kyle abstains. All right, good.
Out of curiosity, how many people are in the public listening?
Well, I was just about to say that there's no one from the public in the participation. Everyone is from. either
Thanks,
the
Kyle.
or another one.
The thought just occurred to me. I'd forgotten to mention the public. Yes, there's nobody there. Okay.
Right, so next section 4B5C2 requires 5% of the parking area to be landscaped. As you know, the landscaping is around the edges of the parking, not in the middle. So what say you?
I'll make a motion to grant this waiver for 4B5C2 relative to the percentage of landscaping within the parking area.
Bob Largus, second.
Any comments from the board?
No.
I have
Okay,
a
here-
question. I do have a question, Wally. Now,
Go ahead.
If the ancillary parking gets built out, do we revisit this waiver? Depending if it's just gonna be employee parking, it might be considered more applicable than if it was tractor trailer. Would we revisit it, or would this, if we vote this, will it also consider the take care of the ancillary lot, you would not need any 5%.
Sounds like maybe the motion in the second should be revised that you revisit that if it's employee parking in the north.
Make a motion to include what Jen just said.
You approve, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, chair votes aye. Bob,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and Mike.
Aye.
Vote passes 5-0-1.
All right, 4B5C2, you gotta have basically a landscaping island every 100 feet. That has not been proposed in tractor trailer or employee parking in the front for ease of maintenance. How do you feel about that?
I think this makes sense. So I'll make a motion to grant this variance for 4B5C2 relative to interior landscaping areas every 100 feet along a parking area as written.
And so, do you want to revisit it in the north, or you're fine with no interior or
And would like,
aisles longer than 100 feet?
and would like to revisit this on the north lot based on the future tenant.
Bob Largest, I'll second that.
Any questions from the board or comments?
No.
Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bob,
Bob Largest, aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Okay, vote passes 5-0-1.
4C, 4F, there's no screening on the dumpsters because it's smushed up against the building and sits way the heck back. Well, not all the way the heck back. They are, let me show you. Oh, sorry. So, wrong one. Sorry. They kind of sit in these corners. So there's one here, there's one here, and then up at the front of the building, there's one and one on those front quarters of the loading dock. So way down in here. So if you're good with that, then you can go ahead and do this waiver. If not, they need to come up with some screening for the dumpsters.
I'll make a motion to grant the waiver 4C, 4F relative to what do you call it? Screening the dumpsters, as I don't think they'll be noticed aside this large building.
Bob Largest, I'll second that.
Any questions or comments from the board?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Scott,
Aye.
Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Carries 5-0-1.
All right, for 5D, 4A3, obviously this is a previous earth removal site. So there are some parts of the site where work will have to take place on slopes greater than 15%. There are no slopes, and you can confirm, Jeff or Dan, that will retain 15%, or you won't end up with any huge steep grades in the end, other than maybe in some basins, and that will be properly stabilized, right?
There is at the northern end of the site, opposite where the if you go where the snow clearing area was designated, no, not the snow storage, the snow clearing area down along the access drive, right adjacent to the building. If you go
in here.
No, if you go north, like right there, right where your cursor is there, you know, we're in a cut there, so we will be having off grading. I think it's 2-to-1 slope up in there, but it will be properly stabilized, you know. So in addition to the basins, that area will be a steep slope.
Okay. Jeff, did you have anything to add on that?
No, what they're proposing is consistent with standard engineering practices. And I recognize that it's kind of hard to work on a site this big and not have any grades exceed 15%. So I have no issues.
All right, so who's good with letting them work on slopes over 15%?
Can you go back to the waivers?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'll make a motion to grant the waiver for 5D 4A3 relative to working and maintaining slopes greater than 15%.
Bob Rogers, a second.
Any questions or comments from the members of the board?
No.
Okay, hearing none, the chair votes aye. Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
All right,
Scott,
Aye.
vote passes 5-0 and Kyle abstains.
Okay, this one should be pretty easy. 5D 4B2, the waiver that's being requested is that shrubs and trees shall be planted not more than 3 feet on center. Not more than, less than 3. That's worded weird. Waivers not more than, I don't, honestly, that's making my head hurt when I read it. So the trees will be planted as you see them on the plan. And that basically it's allowed room to let them grow in a healthy manner. So they need a little separation, but not too much, or they don't affect the proper screening. Want to add anything to that, Dan Feeney?
No, that's correct. It's just, I mean, we're proposing, over 350 evergreen plantings out in between, Lackey Dam Road and the site development out in the front there. It's just if you put, and some of them are significant, initial planting heights 8 to 10 feet in height that are going to grow from there. And they're going to, if you have them too close, they won't survive. Every other one wouldn't survive if you had them closer than 3 feet on center. So it's, as you saw from, I think some of the videos that were done that showed the screening, it's an effective screening method that will promote the health and viability of the plantings.
So Jen, what's, so would you say 350 plants will be planted? What's an acceptable survival rate for that over time? If we grant this, I think I'd like to know that they will either be replaced if needed, if too many of them die off or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, I think we place the standard condition we always do, that dead or diseased plantings have to be replaced in the next spring or fall planting season immediately. So.
Okay. So based on that, I'll make a motion, we grant this waiver for 5D 4B2 relative spacing of large tree materials and shrubs that'll be planted as screening material.
Bob Rogers, second.
Any questions or comments from members of the board? Okay, hearing none. Scott,
Aye.
Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bill Talcott,
aye,
Bob Largis,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Vote is 5-0.
All right. This is dumpsters again. So just Route 146 overlay dumpster. So 5D4C1E. So that's same exact thing.
I'll make a motion, we grant the waiver of 5D4C1E relative screening of dumpsters.
Bob Rogers, second.
Any comments from the board?
No.
Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
aye,
Scott,
Aye.
it passes 5-0.
All right. 5D4C1C says you got to have pedestrian paths between buildings and or between buildings and the open space. You saw the open space on the open space plan, and the open space is not really something up in here or over in here that anybody would want to kind of walk to.
Anybody prepared to make a motion on this? Hey,
Yeah, Wally, this is Mike Gagan. I'll make that motion to waive VD4C1C regarding the pedestrian paths linking the major buildings and open space parcels.
Bob Rogers, second.
are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
vote passes 5-0.
This one would just need specification whether this is still needed. So the team needs to let us know. Our lots, so right now we have one big thing, but we're about to have 2 lots, I would assume shortly. Are they still under common ownership? Are they really within an overlay district? Yeah, so are they still going to be in common ownership or no? Should we just vote this just to be clean? So this is lot 1 and lot 2. It's my understanding that in the end, lot 1 and lot 2 will likely be in different ownership. But right
Yep.
now, they're still in the same ownership, right?
That's correct, Jen.
So you want the board to just act on this?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you've got lot 1 and lot 2. Let me just grab that. Oops, sorry. Don't got it. So you've got lot 1 and lot 2. Just seeing if you could see it on any of these. You really can't. And this, the waivers requires that you have a connection between lots in the same ownership. However, you have a huge power line and basins, and they're really not going to be part of the same kind of a development type. Like they're not part of the same, it's not like a campus. So they're asking for a waiver from this provision that lot 1's circulation would be need to be attached to lot 2's circulation to limit the number of access points onto Lackey Dam Road.
I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion to grant this waiver VD4C2A relative to common ownership and access in consideration of the nature of this development or this project.
Mm-hmm.
This waiver is logical.
We have a second.
Mike Gagan, I'll second that motion.
Any questions or comments from the board members?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Scott,
Aye.
Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Bob.
Aye. Bob Rogers.
Okay, chair votes aye. Vote passes 5-0.
Well, they don't want any bike racks.
Huh?
No bike racks or transit shelters.
Yeah.
So that's what this one's about. I'm always up for a bike rack, but that's totally up to the board. Probably don't want to mix bike racks and big tractor trailers.
Make a motion, we grant this waiver VD4C2D relative to enhancing transit services at this location.
Bob Rogers, second.
Any questions or comments from the board?
No.
Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Scott,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bob,
Bob Rogers, aye.
Vote passes 5-0.
All right, 4D, 4C, 3D. All of the parking for the employees anyways is in front of this building and the rest is on the side. So are you good with that? Or do you think they should just redo the entire site plan?
I make a motion to grant this waiver of VD4C3D in consideration of the extensive planting of screening material in the front lot of this project. The parking can be sited in the front.
Bob Rogers, second.
You got questions or comments from the board?
No.
Hearing none. Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bob,
Bob Rogers, aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
chair votes. Mike, did I call on you? So,
Yes,
yeah.
you did, Wally. Aye.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Bill said aye, chair says aye, passes 5-0.
We already did this one, didn't we?
Well, you did under site plan review. This is Route 146 overlay.
All right, I'll make a motion to grant this waiver of VD4C3E
Bob Rogers,
for
second.
plantings in the parking area, and that we have the right to revisit this consideration in the ancillary lot, should it be constructed in the back.
Bob Rogers, second.
Any questions or comments?
No.
Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye,
vote passes 5-0.
this is 146 also, Jen.
Yes, this one is, they don't want to do a nice brick pavers across the front of the building like CarQuest. They want to just do concrete.
Oh, I see.
So this is in Uxbridge, mind you, but what say you?
I'll make a motion, we grant this waiver VD4C3F relative to sidewalks and pedestrian paths and while they are constructed.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, just for the record.
On the town of Sutton.
Bob Rogers.
That's a great reason.
We're team players here.
So if Uxbridge decides they want it, you're gonna flip that vote?
Yeah.
Oh, no, they can overturn us.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they have the authority.
They had the power.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that was Scott and a second by Bob.
Yeah.
Correct. Any
Okay.
questions or comments from the board?
No.
Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Scott,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Vote passes 5-0.
Right, in the Route 146 overlay bylaw, we, instead of, we have a floor area ratio calculator that basically says if your FAR is greater than what's shown here, it would basically suggest that they can't have an on-site septic system. So they have justified why, even though this is a giant coverage of a building, the type of use and the amount of employees really will not overload basically the environment and the soils, that they only have a flow generation of 4,500 to 9,000 gallons per day. So yielding an FAR of 0.02 to 0.04. So they're basically asking you to allow a waiver or grant a waiver to allow the use of an on-site septic system, considering the particulars of the actual anticipated use and flows.
So before, I don't mind doing the motion, but I want to ask a question first. So you're saying that your project has an extremely low sewage flow generation. Is that because people aren't working there? They're coming and going? They're not drinking coffee? What makes it low?
It's the number of employees and the number of people who will be on site. That's how to size the septic system for a warehouse distribution facility. It's based on the number of employees out there. So,
Which is 178.
we're using a higher number because there will be other shifts. It's 15 gallons per day per employee. So the 4,500 gallons per day would represent 300 people. And the upper end would represent 600 total people. So that's why we're saying, it would never be more than 9,000 gallons a day. As a matter of fact, if you got up to 10,000 gallons a day, you would be forced to do a wastewater treatment plant. Anything under 10,000 can be an on-site septic system, anything above that. So not just our use, but warehouses, distribution facilities in general have extremely low sewer generation per building area. Office buildings have a lot more people in them. Office buildings generally, based on about 4 employees per 1,000 square feet. We're going to have significantly less than that on a site in a use like this.
And they're going to use 15 gallons per day per person.
That's Title V sewage estimates. That's on the high side. Obviously, Title V is based on about a 200% factor of safety. So the actual numbers will be less than that, but to size your septic system, you do use Title V flows.
But do you have like those air toilets, no water?
There'll be low, most are low flush toilets these
Yeah.
days, but yeah, so 15 gallons per day, if you're talking 1 or 1.6 gallons per day per flush and hand washing and things like that, that's what you're going to see from a building like this.
But it's dramatically different for a homeowner. Because I think, what is it, Jen? 400 gallons a day per bedroom or something like that?
110 gallons per day per bedroom for a residential
A home, okay.
Mhm.
So I guess, these numbers all sound good. I think the downside is if this thing fails, what happens? What's next?
You'd have to build a replacement system. This site has extremely favorable soils out here. I know Mr. Walsh was talking, Mr. Walsh was talking about earlier the depth of groundwater in the northern part of the site. In the southern part of the site where the septic system is proposed to be located, you have very deep depths to groundwater. The groundwater is down, I think it's around elevation 316, based on test pits and borings that were done. And that's the estimated seasonal high groundwater. So that's how high it comes up in the spring every year. So there's going to be a significant offset from the bottom of the septic system to the groundwater. And with the highly permeable soils, the failure is a very low probability on a site like this. You usually see failures where you have either high groundwater conditions or glacial till soils, where the sewage has real trouble perking into the ground. So the site it's ideally suited for a septic system.
So Jen, do we have an opinion from Walsh on this, or?
Jeff?
Sure. This is Jeff Walsh. My opinion is I don't have a problem with the planning board granting the waiver. Basically, they at under 10,000 gallons a day, they do fall under Title V. The jurisdiction is with the local board of health or boards of health. Not only where the system is located, but for occupancy, they've got to demonstrate they have sanitary throughout the building in all 3 towns. A package plant that is, like Mr. Feeney said, over 10,000 gallons a day and over. Now you're into not a septic system, but groundwater discharge permit, whereby jurisdiction now goes to the Mass DEP, hydrologic study, full treatment to the standards you would expect to see from a large treatment facility. On-site operators for a certain number of hours a day, 5 days a week. And of course, the last option is connection to a public treatment works, and that was discussed early on. And I understand they have a long way to go with it, and they opted for the on-site septic. So if the septic fails, they'd be forced to reconstruct the septic system with, again, permitting the replacement system with the Board of Health.
Wow.
And if it fails again, do it again.
So is this, this requirement is the same for all three towns?
No, this is a Route 146 overlay requirement. So Millbury has this, we have this, and I believe Northbridge has this.
And the septic's not in our town though, right? This is not in Sutton.
It's not in our town, no. And FYI, I did just draft, and the boss just signed here an application for a one-stop grant for water and sewer extension to this site, as well as natural gas extension to the site as well. I don't know where it'll go, but that is being pursued. But the system is in Uxbridge.
And their design flows that they have to demonstrate to the Board of Health, they'll have to use requirements out of Title V, whether it's a certain usage probably per square foot for the office. And I forget how they do warehouse, if it's by number of employee or square footage, or you have options to do it either way. But there are standardized numbers in Title V for the design flow of the septic system. Yeah, and
Okay. Any more questions on that? How do you feel about a motion?
I'm not sure we need to make one. It's not in our town, or does that not matter?
You've made a whole ton that weren't really in your town, but if you want to skip this, we can skip this. If the applicant doesn't feel uneasy and the rest of the board complies, we can jump over it and just say that's Uxbridge's issue.
All right with me.
I mean, a portion of the building is in Sutton. That's the only reason I prefer you actually vote it, because a portion of the building that's being serviced by the septic system sits in Sutton.
Yeah, see, if this restriction is more restrictive than the town that it's in, then it seems to be moot to me.
What do you mean?
What's the point?
What does the applicant think of our position, or the position that's been mentioned?
Todd?
Sure.
Mark?
Yep, sure, Mr. Chairman, thanks. I think, as Jen mentioned, really it's on the list because a portion of the building's in Sutton, and so, we've tried to treat the site as a kind of comprehensive whole, and so to the extent that that portion of the building is in Sutton, we felt it was at least necessary for you to review this, and if you have no issue with it, we'd prefer it be voted instead of left aside.
Okay.
I just have a question for the engineer. The groundwater discharge permit, does that require more space than your typical septic system?
It depends how high your flow was. It would require a treatment building or
Well,
tanks to
Let's
treat
say
it.
it's 10,000 in 1 gallon.
No, it wouldn't require more space, no. It would require a lot more treatment, as Mr. Walsh mentioned. You're treating it to a much higher level than a typical septic system.
Yes.
So it's very costly, especially at the
How about
lower
the
flow.
school campus guys?
Yeah, so we have.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
Okay.
I'll make
Scott,
that one.
yeah.
you okay?
What do you want me to do? You want me to make a motion?
If you want to, or if not, we'll ask somebody else to make a motion.
Well, again, it's weird to me that there's 3 different regulations because of the town differences here.
Yes.
And I'm not sure that I understand they'd like to see all the Ts crossed. I think I'd just assume circle back, considering the hour of this evening. I think we should circle back on this.
I would tend to agree, because we had the other issue over here with ourselves in Grafton and what's going on in which community and so forth and so on. Like, I would basically prefer that we deal with the Sutton issues.
Could I
And,
leave you with something to think about on this issue?
Yeah, good.
When you pick up? Because it talks to the floor area of the building and the floor area of the land, even the wastewater generating portion of the building that's in Sutton, I see this regulation likely applying
Yes.
to the development. And therefore, it may be worthy of the board voting on, but think about that. I could be wrong.
I agree with Jeff as well. So, but let's mull this one over. We can come back to that. And that was the last waiver, I believe.
Well, through the chairperson, I understand Scott's concerns. But we have two partners in this project. And I'd say to have this thing go backward, the sewage, I don't want it to end up in Sutton. It's a big building. If something goes wrong, I think we should be part of the big plan.
No,
And
so, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
suggesting we come back at some time with more knowledge or understanding of what, say, Douglas. I mean, this is a Douglas in Douglas, right?
No, it's in Uxbridge.
Oh, this is in Uxbridge, okay.
yeah, and then we can get on board because it's a big building. And what if something, this is a big one.
So
in
you
term-
just want to make sure that Uxbridge is comfortable with this as well.
I
Right.
think that's reasonable. And so we're not doing any more joint meetings. They're over with.
No, we're getting back together on June 17th. So,
Okay.
and that will be the motion coming out of this meeting tonight. Unless you think you want to talk to them separately some more. So they'll be meeting with Uxbridge on Wednesday. And Todd, hopefully you guys can kind of address this subject with Uxbridge. So when we come back together on the 17th, we'll know
Right.
if Uxbridge is comfortable with this.
That's good. That's good, yeah.
Sure. Can I just make one more comment? And this may or may not be helpful, but when I think about this particular waiver, we're looking at whether, if you look at the floor area ratio chart there, right? We exceed the 0.1. And so that would trigger you to have that package treatment plant, or you'd be in that category. What we're saying is, look, what we think is the flows are such that it's not applicable to have that package treatment plant requirement. We want to have the on-site septic system. So, in this particular case, yes, the system's in Uxbridge, but you have a regulation that could require something more than the on-site septic system because the building and some of the flows generated from Sutton. So I think it leaves the issue kind of too open and hanging out there. If you're not in agreement that the on-site septic system is appropriate, then you wouldn't grant us the waiver. If you think the on-site septic system is appropriate based on the size and the flows that we've talked about, then you would grant us the waiver.
I think I'm looking for more consensus among the three towns, and I've heard what Jeff had to say and respect that. So I'm just asking for a little more time to chew on it, and we have time before this is approved, and just assume take that. That's my position.
All right, so does the majority of the board want to table this one until the next time we get together?
That's good.
Okay, Mike,
Yeah, I would consider, I think we should actually take the vote. That would be my position, but obviously whatever the majority of board wants to do, I'll follow.
Well, if you want to take the vote, you can make the motion. See if you can get a second.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the point though, if a few of the board members think that they need a little bit more time or information, I think we should hold off on the vote if the majority feels.
Okay.
all right, we'll just put this to the next meeting.
All right, so we're going to table that until that meeting will probably be the June 17th meeting where we're going to try to take some action on the project. So it would behoove the applicant to make sure they get some input on this from Uxbridge and just make sure Uxbridge seems comfortable with this. And if you can relay that information back to us, that would potentially be helpful. I mean, we could continue this hearing to June 14th instead, just to talk about that one thing, but it sounds like if the Uxbridge is comfortable, the planning board here will be more comfortable.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Okay, no, that's no problem. We have no, concern with holding it to the June 17th joint meeting. And, again, we will have a conversation with Uxbridge on Wednesday. If it comes up, I'll let Jen know. And if there's something further we need to do on it, we'll do so.
All right,
Good.
awesome. Okay, so I think we're done with waivers, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yay. Okay, all right, so, is there any other information the board thinks it needs in advance of taking some potential action on this project? If not, then I would be working with the other towns and the applicants, et cetera, and our consultants to start working on potential conditions for action.
Yeah.
Between now and June 17th, obviously. Is there anything else you think you need or want to hear from the applicant?
This is just Mike Gagan. I would just say, I don't, at this point, I don't think there's much more we need to hear. I do appreciate the team for coming individually to the towns. It's a little easier to speak back and forth with you in a smaller setting. So I do appreciate you all for taking the effort to come to us today. So thank you for that.
It's our pleasure.
I think, I'm satisfied that we went through this in detail and look forward to, working with the developers, as we pursue this project.
All right, so we would need if unless somebody else has questions or comments or things, we need a motion to continue to June 17th at 7 p.m.
I'll make that motion. Bob Largis.
Do I have a second?
Mike Gagan, I'll second that motion.
Any questions or comments?
No.
Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Scott. Scott?
Aye.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda. Well, thanks to everyone that came in here to provide us with information on the Blackstone Logistics Center. The next item on here is the Form A plans for 104 Mendon Road.
You'll recall 104 Mendon Road was Mark Stevenson's retreat lot. So it was an existing parcel. We're just designating that as a retreat lot. So all we need, it ran the appeal period with no appeals. The covenant has been executed. So we just need a motion to approve the plan dated 4/8/21. And I can pull that on the screen if you want, or we can just go right to the motion. Up to you.
I'll make a motion, we grant we signed the plan, right? We're gonna sign the plan for 104 Mendon Road.
Bob
Date,
Largis, second.
yeah, whatever that date was.
4/8/21.
Anybody have any questions or comments on that?
No.
Hearing none. Bill?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Mike?
Mike Gagan, aye.
Chair votes aye. That was, okay.
Kyle's back.
Yeah, Kyle's.
wait a minute.
I'll
No,
Oh, I'm
Kyle,
sorry, Kyle.
Kyle, you're standing as an associate right now, right?
I think the only one I had to stand in for associate was for the Blackstone
Blackstone
Logistics.
Valley, yeah.
Now,
But
Bill
if
is-
Bill wants to stay in, he's more than welcome to.
No, I consider myself an associate at this point, at this night.
All right.
I'm sorry, Kyle.
Ah.
This whole Zoom thing is, you know, it's like out
Kyle,
of sight, out of mind.
Kyle,
Oh, no problem.
you're in favor of Kyle then?
Yes, Kyle Bergs and I.
Okay. All righty then. All right, I'm gonna share the screen on the next one. All right, so that's the Form A, the very messy Form A plan for Lot 1, which has Blackstone Logistics, and Lot 2, which is the remainder that goes up to Oakhurst and Lackey Dam Road. I have reviewed this plan with the 1,002 lines on it. Some minor adjustments were made, and it is ready to roll.
Can you go back to that for a minute?
Yes, I absolutely can. If I hadn't closed,
So both the lots 1 and 2 are included in this plan for Blackstone Logics?
no, Blackstone Logistics is only on, I'm sorry, here, let me reshare that.
Lot 1, I think, right? Lot 2's the other lot.
Yep, Lot 2 is the remainder.
It's being carved off, okay.
So Blackstone Logistics sits here
And has frontage on Lackey Dam?
on Lackey Dam Road in Uxbridge, primarily.
Okay.
Entirely, it's hard to see the town. Yeah, this is the town line right here.
Yep, I see it.
And
Yeah.
actually, let me just go back because there is the nice color coded plan. There you go.
Okay.
So the color coding is ownership, believe it or not. So as opposed to where each town is, but you can pick up the town line a little bit better on that one. So this is in Sutton, this little baby chunk. And this is in Uxbridge. And then just that much is in Douglas. So all of Lot 2 is in Sutton. All of Lot 2 will be in Sutton because this is the town line right here between Sutton and Uxbridge. So,
Actually, that's not true, Jen.
oh, wait a minute.
A piece of lot
Yeah,
2
there's
that, right,
that sliver right there. Sorry.
Correct. Yep.
Yep. So there's a teeny tiny piece in Uxbridge.
right.
So this is the Lot 1, Lot 2. So it complies with all of our regulations. Do you have any questions? And Uxbridge signed it already, right?
That's correct.
All right, so Uxbridge already voted their approval and endorsed the plan.
What's the date on the plan?
The date is, the original date was 4/7/21 with the revision date of 5/12/21.
I'll make a motion, we sign the A&R plan of land on Lackey Dam Road for Mary Bedoyan and Barbara Chaco, dated 4/7/21 and revised on 5/12/21.
Kyle Bergs, and I'll second that motion.
Any comments or questions from other members of the board?
No,
Okay, hearing none, chair votes aye. Bob,
Bob Lodge, aye.
Mike,
Mike Egan, aye.
Kyle,
Kyle Bergs and I.
Scott.
Aye.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Have a good one.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Night.
All right, and on we march. 71 Dudley Road, you'll recall, is the Hudson Boat site plan. Oh, sorry, I can't really flip it, but it views better in this direction anyways. So this is Dudley Road. This was 71, 6 parking spaces, entrance to the building
Oh, yeah.
on the east side. So this has run its appeal period with no appeals. This plan is ready for your signature, so we just need a motion to endorse the Hudson boat site plans. And
Bob Rogers, I'll make a motion to
And
endorse that.
for 8/21.
Kyle
Thank you.
Bergson, I'll second that motion with that date.
Any comments or questions from any of the members of the board?
No.
Okay, chair votes aye. Bob,
Aye.
Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Kyle,
Kyle Bergson, aye.
Scott,
Aye.
vote passes 5-0. Next item is Mickey's Car Wash bonding.
All right, so these guys needed to get their occupancy permits a little while back. So based on past precedent, I had them work up this estimate and submit a check in this amount to the town. The paving per a site plan visit letter from, or site visit report from Graves stated that the top course bituminous asphalt was done. So I just need the board to acknowledge that this bond amount was submitted 27/1 and that 18,500 is being released because the bituminous asphalt is done. And we will be retaining the remaining funds. And you, as you're aware, the vinyl fence is now going to be plantings instead, and this amount should still cover that. This combined with this will still cover the plantings, and then we have the number in there for the as-built plan. So I just really just a vote to acknowledge that a bond of 27/1 was placed, and that will be releasing 18/5 because the paving is done and retaining the remainder.
I make a motion as a board, we acknowledge this.
Bob Rogers, second.
Any comments?
No.
Hearing none, we'll have a vote. Chair votes aye. Kyle,
Kyle Bergson, aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bob.
Bob Rogers, aye.
Okay, good. Vote passes 5-0. Just so everybody knows, the chair's having trouble here with the computer powering down. Just some kind of an issue. In case I go offline, that's what's happening.
All right.
Okay. Minutes from meeting on 5/3/2021. I assume everyone has had the opportunity to read and review these. Can I hear, anybody got any questions on it? Hearing none, can we have a motion to accept the meeting in the minutes?
Mike Gagan, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from 5/3/21.
Do we have a second?
Kyle Bergson, I'll second that. Had to make
Okay.
sure I was present before I could second.
Okay. All right, Scott.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
I believe I missed that one.
Could you, You
Bob
were there,
Largis
Bob.
was present, yeah.
yeah, you were here, Bob. Okay, Bob,
Okay.
Mike,
Board,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Kyle.
Kyle Bergson, aye.
Okay, chair votes aye. Vote passes 4-0. Or Bill, you were here, right?
Bill was absent.
Oh, he was at, okay, 4-0. All right. Okay, we got a filing for 12 John Road.
We have a contractor's yard is filing for up there off the end of 12 John Road. I just need you to acknowledge that filing. The public hearing on that will be on your June 14th meeting, which will be your only regular meeting in June.
How can we do that if we're going to talk to this other thing all night?
No, that will be your only regular meeting in June. This other thing will be on June 17th. So that's a special board meeting on Thursday, the 17th. June 13th is
all
your
right.
regular board meeting.
Okay.
And we canceled all your other June meetings. So you have a regular board meeting on the 14th and you have a Blackstone Logistics meeting on the 17th. Okay.
Good. Yep. Okay, traffic study.
Traffic study. So I just wanted to this was the letter that we got from Central Mass Regional Planning. You can see anything that says federal aid next to it is being paid for by Central Mass Regional Planning. And then Central Mass Regional Planning is also giving us 3 town allocations right here. So we just need to fund 2 of them for a total of $400. And as you can see here, just a regular cable count picks up all of these different vehicle types. So unless we're really concerned about pedestrians or bicycles at a particular intersection, just the cable count should give us a great deal of detail on what kinds of vehicles are going through any particular location, including Burbank and Sibley. So for the time being, we've just executed a contract for $400 for just the basic cable count that will pick up all these different vehicle types. And then, you know, if we think we need to be able to count bikes or pedestrians at any particular location, we can pay the additional funds to do that. So if the board is in agreement with that, all of these counts will be conducted between now and early fall in the town of Sutton. Good with that?
Yeah,
Looks good.
absolutely.
$400 worth of good planning.
Yeah.
I like the fact it's got all the different types of vehicles differentiated.
I was surprised how much those traffic counters can pick up. So,
Yeah.
all right, the next thing on the agenda I just mentioned, I just wanted to make it clear that in June, again, you have 2 June meetings. That's it. June 14th, which is a regular planning board meeting, and June 17th, which is a Thursday night. That's Blackstone Logistics. That's it in June.
We're only working 1 week in June.
You're only working 1 week in June, and then you're off until July 12th.
I'm concerned Wally might want to be president a couple more meetings, so maybe we need to add extra meetings.
Oh. I'm looking forward to you, Mike.
Now,
It's a relay you to get to the baton. Throw up. He got us all the way to the top.
June 17th, by the way, will still be on Zoom, but June 14th, you will be back in the building.
Thank God.
Okay?
Great.
So June 14th, you're back in this building.
Mask free, right?
I have no idea. I think we'll have to see what the governor has to say.
We'll wait for the governor.
All right, and then Bill, can you give us just a brief update real quick on the open space and rec plan update? Bill?
You know, Jen, I never got my postcard, but you're asking me, what do we have? We have the postcards went out. And the respondents have been coming in. And then you have planned 2 meetings, open meetings for the public to come and have questions, have comments.
Basically take a look at the survey results and then kind of help us plan our priorities for open space and recreation over the next 7 years. So the plan is due for an update. It's the second or third, probably the third one that I've done since I've been here. And you all should have received a postcard at your house. If you did not, you let me know and I will send you the link to take the survey.
Can you do that for me, Jen?
Yeah, of course I will. And yeah, here, I'm just going to share it real quick. So this is the survey postcard. And oops, sorry, let me get Bill out of the way there. So the survey, we'd like you to finish it by June 1st. This link has been a bit wonky, so you either scan this on your phone and take the survey, or you click this link. If you have any issue, just call me and I'll make sure you get the right link. Then we're doing a photo contest. You submit your favorite open space or rec photos over to my email address. Top 5 photos as voted at the public sessions here will win a season pass to Marion's Camp. And this is just a stop by. So you just stop by on Saturday, June 12th or on Wednesday, June 16th. You just stop in, vote for your favorite photo, take a look at some information, give us your input on what you think our goals should be going forward. And then you just zip out. So you zip in, you zip out. You're not sitting around any place for 2 hours. You just come in, give us your input, and then you can scoot on down the road or check out the trails at Marion's Camp, because that'll all be held at Marion's Camp on those 2 days, a Saturday morning and a Wednesday evening. So one or the other, you don't have to come to both. So, so if you did not get the postcard, make sure you reach out, and Bill, I will send you that link.
Can you include me in that email? So,
Did you not get the card either?
well, if it's in the house somewhere, I haven't seen it.
It did go out to literally
Not my
every
department.
I got it, Jen, so it did go out.
Thank you.
I
Every-
just haven't done anything.
Who did it? Because I didn't get it, but I have a PO box.
It went to every PO box too, though.
There you
It's
go.
not-
There you go, Bill.
I know my neighbors got it 2 days after, or a day after the mailing.
Yeah, I paid anyways for it to go to every residential address in town and every PO box. 3,000, almost 3,700 pieces of mail.
Awesome.
Wow.
So, all right, and then the last thing, Trisha Foster, Eversource, did respond to your question of what's coming out of the heater stacks. So, emissions from the pad-mounted heater stacks will consist of the byproducts associated with the combustion of natural gas and include carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, water vapor, and heat. Nothing caustic will be emitted from the pad-mounted heater stacks. I did ask her how often those will be activated and if they have separate air quality permitting through GPU or anything, and I haven't heard back from her because she sent me that email at 6:30 tonight. So that's the update on that.
Good job.
Excellent.
Need a motion to adjourn?
I was waiting for that.
I'll second it.
Got it?
Bob, second by Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Any comments? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Bob,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Kyle,
Alberts and I.
Mike,
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bill.
He's already gone.
He's already gone. Okay. Passes 5-0. Look forward to seeing everybody in person.
All right, yes.
First time in a
definitely.
year.
Comb my hair.
Guys, I'm gone Thursday until the following Saturday to visit the gorgeous baby.
Good.